essentially, we're not going to get it perfect here. So we're just going to go with less than perfect, which is my middle name, I guess. And it's fine. We're going to roll with it. My only choice of lighting that was accessible is excessive, very bright. That's the only one that I could find easily. I'm trying to get my Barbie lesbian punk band in the background, Panty Raid. You know, you've seen them before. You've been with the crew before. So they're there. They're back there. I just thought they were a good backdrop for what I was going with. And I don't really know that I could totally explain myself or like make this poetry totally palatable to everyone, because that would be an impossibility. So I'm not going to try to do it. I am very afraid of spiders in this weird little corner, so if I freak out, that's probably why. It could be one of many other reasons, but that would probably be it. Outfit choice, so obviously badass. Leopard jacket just kind of makes sense. Oh, also just so you know, like, lighting instrument is balanced on a mannequin head currently and a snorkel mask. Camera is currently balanced on a Teddy Ruxpin box. So it's really professional setup that we have going on here. So I picked these pants. They're kind of like old comic book, kind of Andy Warhol-ish, kind of kitschy, Dick Tracy, old school pop comics. I'm sure there's other definitive names I'm missing, leaving out. Liechtenstein, you know, the thing, the old comic thing. And they're sort of just like a play on the the feminine wiles that are so often used to pile on the cliches and expectations, or whatever you want to say. But they're just funny pants I've had since high school, and they were very tongue-in-cheek, facetious, even when I bought them then. But they say, I'm open to new ideas. And then they're like, this chick, and she's like flirting with this dude. I'm open to new ideas. And then the leg says, please don't fall. I'm only waiting for you. I'm only waiting for you. Funny stuff. So, yeah. Oh, and then, you know, she wears glasses by day. I'm open to new ideas. I'm only waiting for you. It's funny. It's funny because it's continually put upon us. And then, someone gifted me this shirt because it was just very like, I'm a flirt, I'm quirky, I'm cool, I'm weird, I'm a cartoon, I'm a housewife, I'm everything you want me to be. I don't know, I mean, she kind of looks like Betty Page. She looks like a Barbie. You know, the every woman, the any woman. I'm every woman. I'm only waiting for you. So my views, my thoughts, my things, my words. I can admit there's overlap, you know? I collect Barbies. I love Barbies. You know, we've talked about this. I wrote a letter to Mattel when I was 7 years old saying you need to make more gender fluid Barbies and more racially blended Barbies, and include various abilities. Have Barbies who have to use a cane, Barbies who are in wheelchairs, and now they're doing all that, but who cares? I'm not making any money for it. I came up with the idea when I was a 7-year-old, but it's no big deal. No one has to listen to me. It's fine. Generally, they don't. But yeah, there's overlap. Obviously, I turned a lot of my Barbies into a lesbian punk band called Panty Raid. So, you know, I put my own spin on it, certainly. But this isn't anything against, all the possibilities of femininity. It's cool. Here we have a topless troll who was somehow in the 90s made anatomically sort of correct. And it's weird. And it's fine. It's expression. It's all right. Woo! We're not going to be able to put her up fully just yet. There's another one I just put in a new position. She's sort of like a Delta Bark beauty queen. And she's gorgeous. I mean, I love her. Oh my gosh. Own your beauty. Opening night Barbie. Naturally. It's just hard to explain my feelings about it, I guess. And that's why I put it into poetry. But I said recently to some of my co-stars, like, I feel like feminism has, in a lot of ways, and many movements, notions, motions have regressed, gone backwards. And that obviously was not a popular opinion. And they were like, what do you mean? Women have all these opportunities and they can do whatever they want and they have all these options. And I said, well, if you're paying attention to social media in any way, which I really try not to, and it somehow still like leaks in through my ears and my eyeballs, it's becoming very socially acceptable for 20-year-olds, people in their mid-20s, to be getting fillers and injections and Botox and lip implants and blah, 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 and this obsessiveness. And I tried to give this example, and perhaps it's controversial, and perhaps you could argue with me all day about it. Like many topics seem to create this polarity and disparity and craziness and whatever. Fine. It's still my opinion. It's still how I feel. I started becoming a collaging ninja in the pandemic. I made tons of collages and I got all of these vintage Playboys. Okay, now I have a lot I could say about Hugh Hefner. Not such a fan. Not really a fan of how he lived his life and treated people, namely women. And he got into some real gross things. I'm just gonna let you Google that for yourself and do your own homework there, because I don't have the energy to get into it right now. But not the best use of money and humanity, if you ask me. But so I've collected all of these vintage Playboys, and it's really weird because back in the like 60s and 70s and 50s, it's like the advertisements in them are horrible. I mean, so bad. Racist, sexist, misogynistic, horrendous. Like, and blatantly slow. So, like, get her back in the kitchen with a spank. Like, just bad. Just really, really bad advertisements. I mean, excessively so. Like, there was like a cartoon with Santa in it, and I can't even remember the like totally wrong shit about it. But I mean, it was bad. And okay, so there's that. But then the women in the photos have these like real bodies, right? And they have like body hair and they have curves and they like own their energy. And there's this sense about them, and you can feel it looking at these pictures, that they are like in their selves. And there's this very unique empowerment, and they're all so different looking. And it's like this collage of bodies, this feeling of aliveness. Then you fast forward to the future, right? The advertisements get more politically correct. Like, oh, we're minding our P's and Q's here. But the women become cookie cutter stamps, Instagram filters of bodies. And they're all very blank canvas, smooth. They same expectations. Whatever race they are, they still kind of all look the same in a very scary way. And so I can't pinpoint exactly what that is, but I know that I see it, and I know that it really stands out to me. Oh yeah, there's like a, from over here, it like lights my teeth. There we go. It like lights my teeth from behind. That's interesting. Anyway, I don't know. It's just like, I think if you are femme leaning in any way, femme identifying in any way, you see it more, that targeted, like, you are pure or you are a whore, you are this or you are that, pick a lane. Insane focus on what's your beauty routine? So and so just released her beauty regimen, and it's like $6,000 later, you haven't even gotten through all of the products she uses just on this part of her face. And if you're so and so, you could use a light mask that costs $4,000 to eliminate this and tighten that and make this better. And don't ever fucking let this sag. And it wears on you. It gets you down. And when you see over and over the formula that works for, like, the Instagram girl, it really starts to make you hurl after a while if you've got any kind of a, like, unique sense about you, or you don't have the energy to squeeze yourself into that format, which I don't. I find it all very exhausting. I mean, I'm in my basement in front of a bunch of Barbies with put my hair up in a wig hair and no makeup on and my hairy pits, and this is just who I am, and I don't have, I mean, who for? What for? Why for? Wherefore art thou? Realness? Come back in style, won't you? And again, Venn diagram, babies. Venn diagram, my babies. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not saying it isn't out there. I'm not saying that we don't have some strides in not having to hide parts of ourselves and having more of a say in who we are and what we are. But, like, when I go into a big city and every third person I meet is a sex worker or, like, doing webcamming, I don't feel like that's progress. And maybe that's controversial for me to say, because I'm sick of not having money as well. But there's just, like, a sense of things that seems so vain that I think it's insane and hurtful. And, you know, I read about all these studies that, like, it's proven. It's officially now proven that all of these things like Instagram and TikTok and social media make young people feel like shit and feel like they're never going to be enough, and makes their eating disorders go up, makes their eating insecurities go up. I don't know why that spells progress and freedom to anyone. I don't get that, and I've seen it firsthand. Young people I've met who are genuinely destroyed, obsessed, focused entirely on these social media impossible standards, driven by it, can't talk about anything else. I've met several, like 14 to 17-year-olds in this category who their whole story, their whole narrative of themselves is based on this bullshit being fed to them. So I think it's scary. So there's my rant, and it's not all one way, and we do have some freedoms in our world. Hooray. Yes, thankful for that. And we can vote. Okay, that's great. But I do think there's something kind of happening that's not great. This formulaic, and obviously you've heard my stories about Hollywood. You know they weren't good. And that was only, 15, 16 years ago when I was being told to my face, you need breast implants yesterday. I was 17 years old. And that was just like straight-faced, like, you want to get ahead? You want a taste of this fame? This is what you will do. You will lose weight as a 90-pound person. You will put silicone in your tits. And you will sign on the dotted line. And I'm sure I've told this story in the past or included it, but in my agency that I signed up for, I had to rate all my body parts, top of my head to the tip of my toes, 1 to 10 written critiques. What? Fucking freaks? You did that to me as a 17-year-old. And so I know some things have changed, other things have not. And I'm an observer. And when I observe flipping through any magazine or flipping through the channels, I see things being very acceptable, especially for femme identifying individuals, that I find really terrifying. So that's just how I feel. And I made these when I was 18, I guess. I only brought down one of them because the other one was kind of hard to get to. But I guess this was my first collaging. I guess I was obsessed with collaging before I knew I was. I always knew I liked gluing things on mannequins. But I've told you I had like a diary of all the things that needed to change about my body. So this was just kind of my artistic expression of that. This was from my first time living in LA, the like sex ads in LA that are just hundreds of pages of women. Who knows if they're real or not, or what happens with all that. Miss Diet. This was like, which one is it? Well, there's Paris Hilton scratching her pubes, you know, as you do. This was from a really cool museum in LA that went out. It's gone now, but it was called the Museum of Sex, and it was actually pretty interesting. But yeah, we're always here to seduce and titillate. We're always here to be pillars of beauty. This was like an article about Goldie Hawn and how old she looked and how saggy her butt was, and that was like 20 years ago. They were ripping her to shreds even though she's like gorgeous. So anyway, before and after, change every part of yourself. Make this face all the time. Yeah, who cares about your mind? So yeah, it was a problem for me then. It's a problem for me now. Here's an interesting one. This is kind of the beginning of my poem. This girl has like a safety pin in her mouth, and she's being like so edgy on the safety pin in her red lips. Yeah. So I'm all for empowerment. I've talked about this many times. The Venn diagram winds around a very huge circumference of overlapping elements, and I love the idea of empowered sexuality, the expression of sexuality and sensuality and self. But if the pursuit of that comes at the cost of your mental health, then is it healthy? Or if it's like, I don't know, I'm just not sure what we're doing, guys. I don't know. It doesn't feel quite right to me. And I could be wrong, but, you know, a very popular thing on YouTube is like these exposés of the abused Disney and Nickelodeon stars, which is weird to me that people obsessively watch these videos by the millions. Like, okay, we all love our murder porn and like exposés. It's something I can very confidently say about us Americans. But do I necessarily think that it stopped just because people made YouTube channels about it and documentaries about it and called out a few bad guys? No, I don't think it did. Anyway, oh my gosh. How can we get rid of the bad parts? How do we do it? So, just my tangent there. I don't know what to do. But I continue to write poetry about it. Oh, this is the picture. Have I shown it? Have I illuminated it? This was what I included with my letter to Mattel. That's my old cat, Cookie. He's really fat. He was like 25 pounds. And I put all my Barbies on him and wrote about how I had given them these edgy haircuts and how they needed to be more gender fluid. And one of these days I may include the sobbing, weeping video about the outcome of what happened when I tried to contact Mattel about some other new ideas I had. Didn't go well. It went bad, if you want to know the spoiler. It's pretty bad. Yeah. You gotta have a boutique agency representation, just so you know, if you want to get ahead in any kind of a real way like that, or make waves with a big industry or company like that. You gotta have one of those boutique agencies. You know, you just go grab one of those. You just get one. Just give me one. Right? Isn't that fun? Okay. So, There's a really annoying trend, a thing that happens online a lot when they're talking about celebrities, and they always use this same wording. I always get just so like annoyed by how hard it is to get paid to write articles, but then how everybody just uses the same trite like formulaic explanations of things, and everyone's fine with it. Like the thing they're not telling you about the thing. That's one they do a lot. And one they do with celebrities a lot is she or he cuts a classic figure, cuts a sleek figure, cuts an imposing figure, cuts a strong figure. They say it all the time. Look for it and you'll see it. So, I called it. She cuts a stunning, classic, sexy, sultry, casual, elegant figure as she struts, ever relevant. Another picture of a pretty bitch doing something slick with her mouth, doing a little come hither pout, clawing with her fake nails for clout, and for your consideration, another iteration of another paper doll cutout, another glossy deception casting doubt in every insecure direction, another photoshopped section of a midriff and a tit lift, and the swift demise of whatever our four feminists had in mind. Yet another kind of butt-lifting jeans that'll be worn by the current teens and then ripped apart at the seams by disparaging memes in the posts of the next generation of podcast hosts, boasting clout that they invented, then hitting the send button like gluttons for vanity continually about it. Do I have to spell it out for you? This shit is really far gone, but it's also nothing new. First, they wanted us in high-necked, stiff collars, always acting smaller than our male counterparts. Then they wanted us in fringed flapper dresses with hearts in our eyes, high on champagne and dancing. Then suddenly the glitz and romancing was over, and they wanted us to cover up again, pretend fun and stimulation weren't among our lives' motivations. To shun cigarette holders and red-lipped smiles, for itchy, over-the-shoulder boulder holders and living in denial. Trade ragtime and good times for pantyhose too tight and a numb, obedient mind. To be fine with bowing our heads and never go to bed with a man who wasn't in charge of us, lest we be deemed sluts. Then they wanted us to strut like movie stars and be just like Judy Garland, who took the abuse with a smile and a vial of pills, who put on the frills even when they told her she was filling them in too much, and that she needed to focus all her energy not on talent, but on shedding more than a touch of weight. And while every ad concentrated on our beauty routine, we were also held to the standard of keeping the kitchen clean in a pristine apron and making it look fun to always have a hot meal on the table. Those unable to get picked up by MGM or Maybelline worked the makeup counters or encountered derogatory abuse while pouring steaming coffee or operating factory machines for minimum wage. But were still expected to look like Marilyn Monroe or Betty Page. Either way, tight restrictive girdles were a requirement if you wanted to assuage your man. We went through a decade or so span of liberation and rage against underwire bras. We were in awe of Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan, but every article written about them by a man still commented on the way they looked, as a preface to the critique of their latest movement or book. It took us so long in the history of this country with our proud freedom songs for women to get to play along when it came to voting or making any meaningful decisions. A woman trying to lead or enact change was typically met with deranged, misplaced cruelty or derision. We continue in this unfair competition just to get wage equality. And as I speak, men with ties tied too tight fight to sign into law horrible regressive policies about our fucking bodies. Now, naughty and barely dressed is the best way to earn sway over millions of Instagram followers and get them to pay extra to see just a few more inches of uncovered skin. We've made strides, sure, but I think the general progress is getting kind of slim. It's like we tossed out half of what we shouted and fought for on a whim because going back to the sex sells business model really got 'em clicking. So much for sticking it to the man, so much for demanding more for ourselves. I see hot mom OnlyFans accounts, and I know we've shelved a lot of whatever efforts were made that amounted to the feeling of a new day, a new age, the utilization of sage wisdom from the women who walked through extreme inequality and scrutiny to shift the views of many. Now, 20-somethings are saving their pennies so as to inject filler to avoid the killer of confidence and societal relevance, the natural human aging process. What does this widespread acceptance of the ego industry cost us? Have our sisters who climbed so steeply uphill to fulfill their dream of respect lost us to modern beauty standard specs? I think we neglected a key component of our progress. It seems we now value image more and our place in history much less. So, keeping you abreast of my feelings. I don't know. It causes me a lot of stress to talk about because I know there's people that would just argue with me incessantly. Like, well, those women who are on OnlyFans, they're in charge of what they want to do and what they want to show. And it's like, okay, well, I think I used this example before, but I remember there was this really long, I think it was New York Times, or I don't know, I think she was in a bunch of articles, really, about this woman who was a nurse. And she was not making ends meet as a nurse in the pandemic, so she got on OnlyFans. And then she got fired, and then got all this attention. And it's like, why aren't we giving attention to the fact that she was out there saving lives? Like, mostly the article wanted to talk about the OnlyFans account. So what does that amount to? What does that mean? What are we doing? I don't know. I don't know what it means, and I don't know what to do about it. But there's my girl group. Gosh, I just love them. How great they look. Oh yeah, and I got the new equipment set up. Remember, I bought the new equipment for them, like this cool. She's like rocking out there with her electric guitar, and there's like a little DJ mixing booth, and yeah, there's even like a little water bottle on it and headphones. They got all these new accessories to get their recordings done, baby. Woo! So that's pretty cool. So yeah, when it comes to saving us from ourselves, I don't know what to do. I just write crazy poetry and avoid the internet, even though people tell me it's the only way that I'll ever get anywhere. And I'm like, is it? Is it getting somewhere to just... And this whole model we have of existing where if you call yourself an influencer, well, that means you're an influencer. And if you call yourself a life coach, well, I mean, I know you have to get certified. But if you say, like, I'm an expert, I'm a life coach, I know everything, people are like, oh, really? Here's my money. And I don't understand that. So I'm just who I am, and that's that. And I keep my friends from the past, as you can see. There they all are, joining me. So that's all I have to say. We're getting kind of long in the tooth, long in the truth, long in these moments together. But thanks for hearing me, for better and for weirder. And we're steering her right towards 365. I'm telling you, we're gonna get there. It's happening. Huh. Interesting. I just noticed a book from my childhood that I haven't looked at in a really long time. Perhaps we'll have to get into it another time. How we are born, how we grow, how our bodies work, and how we learn. That is fascinating. I mean, what a great book. Oh my god, I remember this. It's like this chick made out of meats and grains and vegetables. And it's teaching me how food impacts my body. And here's all those hormones, the pituitary, the thyroid, the pancreas, the gonads, the adrenals, everything affecting us. Interesting. Adrenal glands are useful for dangerous situations. If young boys and girls wear their hair alike and dress alike, it's hard to tell them apart. The pituitary and sex glands change people's bodies as they grow older. Now it's easy to tell them apart. Overly simplified. Obviously, before we made some strides in that understanding of things, gender, what we need. Interesting. What an interesting little book. Teaching me about the body and what we need to become human. To become human. I remember that. That just brought back a lot of memories. Okay, so I got distracted again and I kept going. Thanks, friends. More poetry tomorrow. Okay, bye.